Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. So today I'm going to be sharing my August reads, showing you all of the books that I have read and listened to in August. But I've read 5 physical books, 2 books on my Kindle, and I've listened to 3 audiobooks. So that is 10 books in the month of August altogether, 4 of which were from a series. Well, 4 physical books from a series, and then all of the audiobooks were part of the same series as well. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So starting off with physical books, the first one I actually technically did not read in August, but I'm going to include it here anyways because I have read the whole series. So I read the Chestnut Spring series in the month of August, starting off with Flawless. So Flawless is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series. If you don't know, the Chestnut Spring series is basically like a cowboy romance series. They are standalone books but like interlinking, I think. I'm sure you could read them on their own, but obviously they do all link through because we see like the same characters, or you meet them in one book and then they end up having their own book, and they are all like intertwined, interlinked, they all know each other. So that kind of vibe.
I'm the golden boy of professional bull riding, or at least I was until it all blew up in my face. Now my agent says I have to clean up my image, so I'm stuck with his ball-busting daughter for the rest of this season as my full-time supervision. But I don't need a goddamn babysitter, especially one with skin-tight jeans, a sexy smirk, and a mouth she can't stop running, a mouth I can't stop thinking about. She says this means nothing, I say this means everything. She says there are boundaries we shouldn't cross, that my reputation can't take any more hits, and neither can her damaged heart. I say I'm going to steal it anyway.
So this book follows Rhett Eaton. He is a professional bull rider. He's one of the 3 Eaton brothers. Their dad owns a ranch. Summer, the girl in this book, is basically his agent's daughter. He has like a sort of bad boy reputation. He's kind of like just a bit of a cocky asshole that kind of doesn't give a shit. So she is sent in to do like damage control, kind of like brighten up, smarten up his image, and of course it's about their relationship along the way. I did really enjoy this. I rated this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars because I did really enjoy it, but I'd heard people say that some of the other books were better, were their favourites, so I didn't want to give a 5-star right off the bat. Then we go on to Heartless, and I love this one. I didn't really think that I would enjoy this one as much as I did because it's like age gap, kind of not enemies to lovers, but he is very grumpy, like he does not like her. I don't know, there was just something about this one that I wasn't convinced that I would love as much, but I absolutely love this one. This one follows Cade, who is Rhett's brother, and Willa, who is Summer's best friend. So we do see them both in the first book.
Cade is 13 years older than me and barely looks my way until I get him in the hot tub for a game of truth or dare. Then all bets are off and so are our clothes. He's gruff, a little rough around the edges, but it turns out broad-shouldered ranchers with filthy mouths are this city girl's kryptonite, so who am I to resist? And when he softens in our quiet moments together, I start to realise his hardened exterior is just a facade. Someone once convinced him that his best wasn't good enough, yet I've never felt more cherished than I do in his arms. My contract may say that this arrangement is only for 2 months, but my heart says this is forever.
So Willa basically nannies for Cade. Cade is like single dad, cowboy on the ranch. So he gets Willa to sort of nanny for him over the summer. And of course we get the sort of like angst, tension, all of that build up on the way. But I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, I didn't think I would because I'm not always a huge fan of like age gap. Sometimes the whole like grumpy man trope irritates me. And I also don't really love single dad. But Daddy Cade really did it for me. Like I absolutely loved this. I rated this one at 4.75 because again I was like, I don't know if it's going to be my favourite of the series, but it was my favourite out of the first 2. I just absolutely love this one. Then we went on to Powerless, which was my favourite. This is the childhood friends to lovers one of the series, so of course I absolutely ate this up. Childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance is like my favourite kind of trope in the romance world. I just absolutely love it. So this book follows Jasper and Sloane. Jasper is basically one of the unofficial Eaton brothers. He had like a struggle growing up with his family, and they kind of like adopted him in, brought him in, and basically classed him as their brother. Jasper is a famous hockey player, but obviously because he's in with like the Eaton boys, he still grew up on the farm, grew up on the ranch, and is like a cowboy at heart. So we get a hockey romance and a cowboy romance in one. Sloane is the actual Eaton boys' cousin, so she has always grown up around them, around Jasper, had like the biggest crush on him for years.
I've been living in the friend zone for years now. To Jasper Gervais fans, he's just a hockey heartthrob on TV, but to me, he's still the lost boy with sad eyes and a heart of gold, the man I've loved in secret for years. So when my life falls apart on my wedding day, it only makes sense that he's the one to swoop in and save me. And when his world come crashing down around him, I'm there to return the favour. But the more time alone we spend together, the more I start to realise that Jasper isn't looking at me like a friend anymore, and he isn't touching me like one either. He acts like he wants me, but after years of turning me away, he's going to need to prove it.
So yeah, it's like childhood friends to lovers. Basically, they both have their own situations, own backstories, and they end up coming together on this sort of like road trip. And from there, we kind of see the feelings come into play. They kind of like voice what they've been feeling for a long time. But it's like no secret that Sloane has always had a huge crush on Jasper, but she's kind of like, if you want me, you're gonna have to prove it kind of thing. I did get a little bit frustrated with this one because I felt like Jasper all of a sudden just decided, yeah, okay, I kind of want to be with Sloane, and Sloane had literally been pining after him for years and years. But having said that, I did rate this one 5 stars. This was the only 5 stars for me out of the series. I really loved this one. Just like the tension, the kind of slow burn but like pent up angst that comes with childhood friends to lovers. I absolutely loved it. This is like some of my favourite tropes in one. Childhood friends to lovers, cowboy romance, and actually a hockey romance. Like, what more can a girl want? And the last book of the series is Reckless. This one follows Winter, who is Summer's sister, and Theo, who we see in the first book. He is like friends with Rhett. He is also a bull rider. Again, going into this one, I was like, I do not think I'm gonna like this book because one of the main tropes, kind of spoiler but also not a spoiler because you find out about it straight away, one of the main tropes is like a surprise slash hidden secret pregnancy, and I just do not like kids in books generally. So I was like, I don't really know how I'm going to feel about this one. And from what we had seen of Winter in the other books, I was like, she just does not seem like my fave. But this book really surprised me with how much I enjoyed reading about them and their story, and I was actually rooting for them.
I'm almost free of my toxic marriage and a sworn of men entirely, so all I see when I look at Theo is a temptation served up with a heap inside of heartbreak. The man is hard to trust and even harder to resist. Make that impossible because Theo is persistent, and no matter how hard I try to freeze him out, he melts my icy exterior and pulls apart all my defences. Then I spend the singular hottest night of my life with him. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a secret, but that little plus sign is going to make the secret impossible to keep.
So yeah, like I say, in the first book, or like throughout the series, we see little bits of Winter and Summer's relationship, and she was just not very nice. They kind of had this rival sibling relationship because of this whole family drama that was going on. But her character development in this book was groundbreaking. Like, she did a whole change and she really was a much better person in this. And the more we kind of learn about her, you get why she behaves that way. But yeah, so I didn't know how I feel about this one, with it being like a one-night stand, a secret baby, all this kind of thing. And obviously like the majority of it was based around this child, this baby, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought the way that it was done, I wasn't kind of like annoyed that this kid was in the story. I really liked it, and I really liked seeing Winter and Theo's relationship. Theo is just amazing. I think I gave this one like a 4.5 because I really did enjoy it, but it wasn't my favourite. My favourites of the series were definitely Heartless and Powerless. Top tier for me. And then I went on to If He Had Been With Me. I was really scared going into this one because I had just seen people say how sad it was all the time. Like, literally everyone seemed to have cried at this. It is romance, but it's like, the way that it's written is very character driven rather than plot for the most part. I would say like 70% of this book, maybe even a bit more, was very mundane, not much really happening.
Autumn and Finn used to be inseparable, but then something changed, or they changed. Now they do their best to ignore each other. Autumn has her boyfriend Jamie and her close-knit group of friends. Finn has become that boy at school, the one that everyone wants to be around. That still doesn't stop the way Autumn feels every time she and Finn cross paths, and the growing nagging thought that maybe things could have been different, maybe they should be together. And as time passes, Autumn realises she might not get another chance to make things right before it's too late.
So basically, Autumn and Finn are like childhood friends to lovers, so I thought I was going to love this one. Their mums are basically like best friends. They live next door to each other. They've always grown up with each other, and it's always been one of them type of things where, you know, everyone thinks they're going to end up together. It kind of just follows their like interweaving friendship throughout the years. We get like not a then and now timeline, it's all from like Autumn's point of view, but we kind of go back a little bit to like when they were kids, when they were friends, what happened, why they grew apart, all things like that. And then of course there is like a plot twist, a sad ending. I don't know about this one. I think I would rate it like a 4 stars because I did enjoy it, but I just felt like the majority of the book I was like waiting for something to happen. And then when it finally did, it kind of felt a little bit, I don't know if I would say rushed, but it felt like it could have been more fleshed out. Like it did feel like a little bit of a lazy ending to me. Then going on to Kindle reads. Also, when I say Kindle reads, I just mean books that are on Kindle Unlimited because I do read them either on my phone or on my iPad. I cannot wait to get an actual Kindle because this iPad is so beat up, it is ridiculous. But anyways, the first book that I read was By Thread by Lucy Score. I didn't hate it. I quite enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's like enemies to lovers, workplace romance, grumpy, sunshine type vibe, which aren't really my favourite tropes. So I didn't go into it with like high hopes. And also Lucy Score books for me are a little bit, I don't know, I don't dislike her books. I really like her writing style, but they just feel so long. This book was nearly 600 pages and I just think for a romance book they don't need to be that long. This is like a common theme that I have with her books, like things we never got over, things we hide from the light. They're just too long for my liking and I feel like literally a lot of the middle chunk could just be scrapped, could be gone. So it follows Dominic and Ali. Dominic is like this suit wearing business exec type vibe at like a fashion magazine, his mother's fashion magazine. Ali works in, at the current time of the story, she works in like a pizza restaurant. He basically gets her fired from the job, then his mum offers Ali a job at this fashion magazine. She gets there, it's like all this tension, they don't like each other, she thinks he's stuck up, he thinks that she is just annoying. But obviously they end up working together in like this workplace environment. But yeah, it just felt like a lot of back and forth. I didn't love it. This whole like, we can't be together but there's not really a reason, or if there is a reason we can easily get around it but I'm going to make a huge deal out of it type of thing is not my kind of romance. I don't really love it that much. And I just felt like the characters in this book, he is literally like 40, maybe even like 44, something like that, and she's like 39 going on 40ish, and they just acted so immaturely for their age and I just did not love that kind of vibe. Like I said, I think I gave it maybe a 3.75, maybe even like a 3. I don't really know. I'm still a little bit unsure on my rating of this one. Then the next one that I read, I actually finished this morning, was A Love Letter to Whiskey. I had literally seen nothing about this book. I seen one girl on Instagram talk about it. Her @ is Bookish Joe. I love her content so much. I seen her post about it and I was like, need to go and read it. It is basically like a friends to lovers kind of book, but it is one of them off and on again for multiple years kind of books, which, as you've probably gathered from what I've said about other books, I don't particularly love. When people are like, we can't be together, but there's not really a huge reason for them to not be together. But this book's like whole purpose was that, which you would think I didn't like, but I actually did really enjoy it. So it follows Jamie and B. They basically meet in like high school and straight away like she wants to be with him. She's like, I am in love with this man. But he ends up getting with her best friend, only kind of like as a high school romance. They end up breaking up and whatever, but there's always this underlying like tension with them. They both like each other but neither of them really want to make like the first move, and this goes on like a huge time span. I think maybe it must span like at least 10 years. I don't know how old you are in American high school, but it goes from when they're in there to when Jamie is like 30. So it does span quite a large time frame, but in that time they have like different relationships, different careers, different living in different cities, going to college, all things like that. And there is always just a reason why they can't be together. And it just got very frustrating for me, especially B, the main character. I kind of felt that she was insufferable in some parts. Like she was just very, very annoying to me. Normally I don't really root for like the guys in a book, but I just felt like Jamie actually could have done so much better. I feel like everybody in this book could have done so much better than the people that they were with. They kind of like, maybe little minor spoilers here, they literally cheated on like every partner that they had to be with each other, but then wouldn't actually commit to each other. Like when one of them was ready, the other one wasn't. When one of them wasn't in a relationship, the other one was. When one of them was ready to like leave the career, move. The other one was like, don't think I'm ready for that. And it just got very annoying. But I did really enjoy it at the same time, which is probably so like contradictory, especially for me that I just said that I hate that. I think Jamie to me felt very like Lauren Hale coded. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like the description of his appearance or what, but he just felt like Lauren Hale in a different font. Not as good as Lo, but the same kind of vibes. And just as like a little bonus book here, this is not something that I have read in August, but it's something I am reading in August continuously, ongoing. This is an ongoing read, and that is A Little Life. I am so scared for this book, so I am basically reading it like a few pages a day. I'm currently only up to about page 70, I think. So I haven't really got into like the bulk of the book, but basically this has been on my TBR for so long, literally maybe like a year, if not longer. And I've just always put it off because first of all, look at the size of it, that is ridiculous. And secondly, everybody says that it is, I was going to say borderline traumatizing, but I don't even think it's borderline. I think it is actually traumatizing. Like, I feel like it is very emotionally heavy. So I've kind of like been building myself up for this. But also they did like a play production of this, and that is basically hitting the cinemas in September. So I wanted to have read this because I do want to go and see that. So that is why I've started it now. I've gave myself like just over a month to read it, because I think if I just read this alongside other books, which is why I've been doing the last week or so. If you haven't heard of this book, then it is basically about a group of 4 friends that move to New York. It follows their life, the ups and downs, and from what I gather there are a lot of downs. I would definitely read the trigger warnings, content warnings before hopping into this one.
4 graduates move to New York, broke, adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition. There is kind, handsome actor Willem, the sardonic painter JB, Malcolm a frustrated architect, and the brilliant yet enigmatic Jude, who serves as their centre of gravity. Over many decades, their complex relationships come to be defined by their respective addictions, successes and traumas in this immensely powerful novel of love and the limits of human endurance.
So yeah, this is like my ongoing read. I hope that this will be in my September wrap up. And then quickly just going on to audiobooks. So I have really been trying to get back into my audiobook game. Generally, I prefer to listen to thrillers as audiobooks because I feel like they keep me gripped, they keep me on my toes, because I can tune audiobooks out quite a lot. But then I was just going through BookBeat the other day, which is what I use to listen to my audiobooks. I do have like a sort of link affiliate thing with them. I'll leave that link below if you do want to use it. But they basically got loads of Colleen Hoover books on there. Now, Colleen Hoover is not one of my all-time favourite authors. I don't love her work particularly. There are a few books that I do really like, but she isn't my all-time favourite, and I wouldn't generally race to go and get her books anymore. However, one thing I will say is she does make a gripping, easy read, or listen I guess in this case. Seeing that there was quite a few on there was a few that I hadn't really read, so I thought I would just listen to the audiobooks. It will be a good way of boosting my reads a little bit whilst also hopefully enjoying the story. So I listened to the Slam series. There were 3 books in total. There was Slammed, then there was Point of Retreat, and then there was this girl. I hated it. Not a favourite of mine. It felt very YA, very Wattpad, but not in a good way. It basically follows Lake and Will. Will is basically an orphan. He is looking after his younger brother, and Lake, she is suffering grief from the death of her dad, and then also stuff comes out about her mum. So her mum and her brother have moved into this house next door to Will. So they end up like striking up a relationship, but there is like a big plot twist with their relationship. Then something happens with Lake's family. So it's just kind of like this ongoing thing, but I just didn't really love it. It just felt very YA, and the whole, one of the main like plot lines that we get into in the second book more, just didn't love. It was very cringy to me, and both the main characters just felt very immature, especially Lake, the main girl. Literally hated her. So the first one, I don't really know what I would rate that, maybe like a 3 if I'm being generous, a 2.75 probably. Then the second one, which is Point of Retreat, even the title of that pisses me off. Like, I if you've read or listened to it or whatever, you will get where that saying comes from, and I just didn't like it. That whole thing just made me feel a little bit ill. So that one was probably like a 2 stars. And then the third one, which is called This Girl, is basically the whole first book from Will's point of view, and it was just boring. I literally like listened to it and I think I did tune out after like 2 hours of listening. So yeah, that one was like a 1 star for me. So not great, but it was 3 extra reads to boost my Goodreads goals, so we won't complain too much. Anyways, that has summed up all of the books I read and listened to in August. Kind of like the end of the summer reads, but I am going on holiday at the end of this month, so I do have a few little extra summery reads that I'm hoping to get out of the way on that holiday. When I get back in September, we can dive straight into all of the cozy sort of autumnal reads. As always, if you want to stay more updated on what I'm currently reading, reviews, all things bookish, follow my book Instagram. I will put it up here. I'm definitely more active over there. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye.